Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dear God, as we gather this evening, we ask for strength, courage, and wisdom, and we thank you for giving us the privilege to serve this fine town that we live in. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Call to order the Tuesday, 7th, 2022 meeting of the Mooresville Town Council. Gentlemen have had a chance to read the minutes from our previous meeting. I need a motion to either amend or approve the minutes as written.
Motion to approve the minutes as written.
Motion been made. Do I have a second?
Second.
Made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Greg Jeff, 4-0. Under unfinished business, at our last meeting, we tabled the Creative Foam CF1 personal on their personal property abatement. And speaking to Mike this evening, he said, Shane, that he had shared that information with you and that you were you could kind of enlighten us a little bit.
Well, first, when I looked at this, it looks to me like it's not filled out totally. So I think they have had some personnel issues as far as changes to personnel. I'm not sure what the rule is. I think it's due, but they did file it. Is it something that we can table again to give them more time to complete the form?
You certainly can table it again. But you're right, it doesn't look like the second page was filled out.
I think they're a little confused on, they received an abatement for equipment, personal property, and they haven't put it all into use yet.
That's part of it, too.
And they don't know. So do we need a motion, or do I have a motion to table?
I'll make a motion to table.
Motion been made. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Shane Gregg, 4-0. This is a public hearing for the Motorola and fire equipment transfer of funds from our our surplus general budget. This was discussed at our last meeting, and this is trying to pay down some of the debt. This is listed as a public hearing. Is there anyone in the audience that wants to speak either for or against this action? Gentlemen, I will need a motion to close the public meeting, the public hearing.
Motion to close the public hearing.
Motion been made. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Greg, Shane, 4-0. Now, as if we will have another hearing. Okay. Since it is an additional appropriation, we do have the option of waiving the rules and passing it on first reading, but since we do not have 5 members, legal counsel has advised that, and it is an appropriation, that we have our second vote on this at our next meeting, our final vote on this at our next meeting. So to get the balance for, going to affect the payoffs, but I think that they figured the payoffs afterwards. Next item on the agenda is a K-9 Fund Ordinance. I'm not familiar with this one.
We talked about it last meeting, funding the program through rainy day fund of $25,000 one time. So the attorney prepared this ordinance for the first reading. Didn't we talk about it last meeting?
I don't know that we had a vote on this, on the minutes that we approved. And Jeff, I guess you're going to have to jump in here and tell me your thoughts on this. Councilman Cook stated he'd like to wait for a new police chief to be in place as no handlers available. Is that, I mean, we didn't technically vote on it. I mean, do you feel comfortable going ahead and passing this?
Yeah, I just want to make sure, from what I was told before the meeting that the K-9 officer they were going to select or did select, he resigned today. So we don't have a handler, but I do want the money available for the new chief to come in. I want to make sure those monies are there in a line item, yes.
Okay, well, it was just,
And it's a one-time deal, it's not a yearly.
okay, it was just going against the minutes. I just wanted to make sure that we were all right with that. So,
It also needs to be noticed for public hearing.
yes,
so
and that'll be at our
the
next meeting. That'll give us a 10-day period.
Correct.
20. Okay, then we need to approve a public hearing at for our next meeting. I need that in the form of a motion. By ordinance, that's.
I'll make a motion that we hold the public hearing for the K-9 program on June 21st.
Motion been made. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
You can have the first reading.
Okay. Gentlemen, we can pass this, or at least pass the first reading tonight, and then we could approve it after our public hearing at our next meeting. If that's what you would want to do, I will need that in the form of a motion. Oh, wait a minute, public hearing, Shane, no. To hold the public hearing was Shane, Jeff, 4-0. Please make sure that that is advertised. And then do you want to pass this hold a first reading tonight, or do you want to hold that when we have our public hearing? Said either way.
The public hearing, there'll still be a chance for a public hearing, just like the other ordinance.
Absolutely.
You can move to introduce it tonight.
I'm sorry?
You can move to introduce it tonight and have it on the agenda.
That's why it's on the agenda as first reading, but I thought that was self-explanatory, but
I don't know what they're doing.
Okay, we will consider this a first reading. We can pass it at our next meeting.
how it was advertised.
Do what?
To me, that's how it was advertised on the agenda. Do you disagree with that, attorney?
No, it's really not, it should have been technically probably under new business, but it's fine. It is saying that it's a first reading.
Well, we've been talking about the K-9 fund for a year and a half, so it's been under old business for a long time. Do you want me to make a motion?
The ordinance is a new ordinance,
Okay.
so.
Do you want a
It
motion?
just needs to be introduced as a new ordinance, yes.
Do you want a motion just to cover ourselves?
A motion would be appropriate, yes.
Okay, so I'll make a motion that we hold the first reading today and then the public hearing next meeting. Is that good enough?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Motion been made, do I have a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Change F 4-0. Rezone 211.5 East Harrison Street. Well, this is not a public hearing. Is there anyone to speak either in favor of or against this project? It's your property and you're in favor of it?
Yes, sir.
Ma'am, are you in favor of it also? Gentlemen, if you've had a chance to look at this, it is kind of an odd configuration. Your entrance will be on and off of the alley, won't it? But directly across from it, across the alley, are some apartments. To the north and west of it is a duplex there on the corner of Madison and Harrison. So I think it's an appropriate use. I think it did come from the Planning Commission with a favorable recommendation. And was it a unanimous recommendation? Standards or finding of fact are included. Gentlemen, have any questions for either legal counsel, members of the Planning Commission, or the developing parties?
A personal residence or just rental? Rental.
It's a duplex or is it a duplex? Yeah.
He's approved for the one on the trailer sets.
Oh, yeah.
Just haven't got there yet, and mine's right next to that. And the last meeting we had was, change it from R1 to R2.
Yep.
Yeah, and they approved that.
Gentlemen, I need a motion to either accept the recommendation from the Planning Commission or change the recommendation.
Motion to accept.
Sorry. Go ahead.
Motion been made, do I have a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Jeff, Greg, 4-0. Next item on the agenda is the Packmore Process Technologies. They have actually two abatements. They were approved with one resolution number, the real property and the personal property. Upon close review of those, you can see on the personal property, the estimated improvements was $2,681,863 was the estimated. The actual improvement was $3,432,402. Their estimated additional employees was going to be 12. The actual number of increase is 49. If you look at the compliance statement for the personal property versus the compliance statement for the real property, you will see that the number of additional employees is incorrect. It was just a typographical error. In checking with them, it is actually 49. It was typed as 47. The math does add up there for the total of 176 employees. You know, you look at a little business here in the town of Mooresville, and they've got $8 million worth of salaries. I think so far they've served a nice niche for the community, also diversifying what our town has to offer as far as employment. I need a motion to either find them in compliance on their personal property. Well, it's Resolution 15, so we can look at that as far as, we can look at both of them and find them in compliance on both of them since it's one resolution. There was a glitch, or not a glitch, it was a windfall for them. Their estimate for real property improvements was $1.5 million. They actually got the job done for $1,092,375. That was just something that they lucked into during the bidding process. Can we approve them both as one motion, since it's one resolution? Or do we need to do both?
You can do, you could do, I'd make two different votes, but.
Okay, two different votes. Okay, I need a motion to approve the personal property abatement for Packmore Process Technologies.
Motion to approve the personal property for Packmore Process Technologies. Substantial compliance.
Motion been made, do I have a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Greg, Jeff, 4-0. The next one is whether or not we find him in substantial compliance on their real property. Motion?
Motion to find Packmore Process Technologies in substantial compliance on the real property.
Motion been made, do I have a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Greg, Jeff, 4-0. The discussion of the proclamation, 100-year birthday citizens of Mooresville. Sometimes we need a little bit of a feel-good story in our lives to make us feel better about ourselves. I had a citizen call out of the blue and said, hey, I've got an aunt that's turning 100 in July. What does the town do for them? I said we send them a property tax notice in April. Couldn't think of anything else that we really did. Pretty big milestone. I said, we haven't done anything. Sometimes we overlook our history more than what we should have. We had a discussion about that at our last meeting. I wanted to bring this to the council and see if they would entertain a motion to, if a citizen of Mooresville were turning 100, they notify the council, notify the clerk treasurer's office, and we somehow come up with a proclamation to make that day theirs in the town of Mooresville. May not mean anything to anyone else except for them, but for one day in 46158, they've had a good day, and it's been about them.
Yeah.
Any comments or?
It's a great idea. I think we should honor them.
Are you talking in-town residents only, or I'm thinking of a man that's 105 that I've thought of this for him in the past, just my own self and talking with his family, but I think he does reside outside of town limits.
Well, we could bring him into town. We could sell him a house.
Yeah,
Put him in one of yours.
there you go.
Just for a day.
But, I think it's a neat idea. But I just would want it clarified so that we know, I don't want to leave someone out that thinks they should be involved, I don't want to get people mad at us over this, because it'd be a nice thing to do.
I'm not going to say that we couldn't recognize someone that's within the township or within, hey, our buffer zone until they take it away.
Anybody with a Mooresville address.
Yeah, within the 46158 maybe. But I think I know who you're talking about, and he may be 46113.
Is he in, okay, yeah, he might be.
So.
Russ, yes. Yeah.
Similar to have it as a citizen of Mooresville, but.
It probably would be.
I mean, I understand the intent behind it, but you're right. No good deed goes unpunished.
How about if we make the proclamation for citizens of Mooresville proper, and we can offer acclimates to and public acknowledgement of anyone outside of it. Would that be acceptable? I'll draw something up and send it to you. We just got to get this done by at least July 21st.
Okay.
And also, we need to come up with any ideas of how to get this word out. I wish we had someone here from the newspaper that could, really hammer this home, but. Okay,
Do you want a motion to move
Yes,
forward
please.
with that, or?
motion to move forward.
Okay, so I'll make a motion, unless, Greg, do you want to
Go
do it?
ahead, go ahead.
Because I think you both spoke up first, so.
Go ahead.
Motion made by Shane. Do I have a second? Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Shane, Greg, 4-0.
Yeah, it's neat.
Department heads. Not everybody at once. Take your time.
I'm sure everyone's noticed all the construction going on around town. However, I met with the folks from Wallace today. They are about 75% complete. They still have Reyes to Sundown in Arlington, but those are the subdivisions that they're replacing the driveway aprons and curbs. They should be finishing up here in the next couple of weeks. That's really about all I have tonight. Any questions?
On the downtown building, the tornado building,
Yeah.
are you working with we have an agreed order that I think gives the person till June 19th or so. So by our next meeting, we could potentially start the public bidding process if it's not down.
Yeah, that's a
Is
great
that
question.
correct?
So once we get to that point, we'll have to write the specs for bidding to send out to all the interested contractors. Do we have our attorney write those? Do I write those? I've never wrote specs.
Is it like a request for proposal or request for qualification?
It'd be a request for bids. Yeah.
I mean, we are happy to figure out a way to help you with that.
It's that close to two other buildings. I don't know how, on something like that, we have a performance bond on paving or something like that. I don't know how we get a bond to protect other people's property. Or I don't know how or would that be a civil matter from that point forward?
You can require a bond that would cover damage to surrounding properties.
That'd be a maintenance bond or a performance bond?
It can be whatever you want in the proposal. But we'll talk.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thanks, Dave.
Hey, wait a minute.
Sir.
While you're here, public comments. Is there someone here from South Street he's going to be the guy that we're going to have to ask some questions. Do you guys mind if we just bring her up and cover this right now?
I am here to ask that we do something about the storm drainage issue at 140 East South Street. And the reason I'm bringing it to you is because I've talked to Dave. Dave has tried to work with it, but what he's doing is not satisfactory. What I'm saying is the storm drainage is so severe onto my property that it's eroding constantly. We have spent thousands of dollars trying to fix potholes. We have dumped thousands of dollars of gravel in there. I have paid a backhoe worker to come in and try to fix it so it would drain off properly. The truth of the matter is, the storm drain sets 75 feet off of the road into my property. So there's 75 feet of my property I can't use to park cars or anything else. It's Jamie's Automotive.
Okay.
And that 75 feet is used up because what's happening is there are no storm drains from the top of the hill on South Street down to my property.
Then you have the railroad tracks.
Right. So when it gets to our drive, it comes in our drive, goes approximately 100 feet down the drive till it hits a low spot, and then it turns back toward the storm drain, which is about 75 feet off the road. So it's made this huge ditch, which I fill in constantly, and then the water drains into it. When it's really heavy, and I haven't been out there and cleaned the drain like I should every day, then it backs up and it will fill up to the point that it'll go in the automobiles. So what I'm trying to do is get that drain maintained, and it was last year, it was our beginning idea that if there was a drain put out on the road and tunneled under to that drain, it would rectify the problem.
Where does it go from that drain? Does it go?
It actually goes to that drain, and then it takes an angle and goes back to the alley even closer to the building, which is also across our property. But that is a huge drain, and it takes on all the water for the backyards on South and High Street. They actually runs down that alley into that huge sewer drain. It doesn't seem to be a problem, although it's not maintained. It should be maintained better, because right now it's full of blacktop, gravel, trees, and weeds have grown up around it so bad that you can't even see it from the alley. The only ones that maintain it, as far as I'm concerned, for the last 10 years is Jamie's Automotive. We go out there and clean it out, we weed eat around it, we dig everything that washes into it away from it, but we can't clean the insides of them. And the one out on the property, the one that's 75 feet in, is getting stopped up, because even if I clean off the top of it, it doesn't handle all the water. Now, I'll give you an example. About a month ago, I sent Jamie over to Wallace to buy a ton of blacktop. We took that ton of blacktop and we filled in all the potholes, and we filled in that ditch. Then they decided the very next day they were going to flush the hydrant, which is at the top of South Street, which flushed for hours. Every piece of the blacktop was washed away, and the trench was re-ran. So it's something that happens on a common weekly basis, and I would just like to see if there's a way it can be fixed without running it on top of me or across me.
Is that, and I'm trying to go back to years ago before that, when that was a car wash, or even maybe before
We're
then?
talking 1970, I think. Those drains may have been placed for that reason.
But is there an easement, is there a town-owned utility easement there, Dave?
I looked through Morgan County records and couldn't find any, but I don't know about the town. I did have the people, what is their name? That do all the water and the permit paperwork? Holloways. I had Holloways look for me, and they couldn't find anything on it. So I honestly don't know.
It could have been something that was put in privately.
Or
back
the car
then
wash.
By
Right.
Keller or whoever that was.
And I totally understand that, and I understand how old it is, and it does do good drainage. The problem is, it's getting worse, and there's getting to be more of it, and it's like, it does fill in, it does flood that backside of the property.
When it goes from the one that's 75 feet off to the other one, where does it go from there? Dave, do you know?
No clue.
I think the one that sits at the end of the alley coming from Indiana Street, the large one with the brush around it,
Right.
it drains to the one in her property, and then it drains on down to the corner of Madison and South Street, and then from there out to the,
So does it go under the railroad tracks?
that's,
Have you cleaned it?
it's been a couple of years. We've cleaned it, we've cleaned out the catch basins. We have not made it up to her property or the one at the end of the alley that is surrounded by brush. We've not made it up that far. Cleaned the pipes. The pipes do drain good.
They do. He's right. They do drain good. It's the erosion from the top, where
That
it comes
fills it in.
across the top, that is filling it in and covering it up.
How close is it to the railroad track?
Yeah.
Okay.
30 to 40 feet.
Good.
Yeah.
Now, oh, I'm sorry.
No, you're fine.
So Wallace was paving South Street the other day, and after, speaking with Mrs. Jane Zimmerman,
Yes, that's fine.
we met on site, and I gave her a plan that I thought would work. We had Wallace kind of create her driveway apron, kind of create a slight swell there. We were going to go, once he was done, Wallace was done, we were going to scrape the stone to make a swell going around her parking lot to that drain. However, you hire someone to do that, and it looks like that's going to work. They did a good job.
But it didn't work. And what happened was Wallace came over to see my backhoe guy, and he told him to trench it from right here. Go ahead and curve it as it comes off the blacktop, which he did. That cut me down to one lane, in and out traffic. I used to have two. No one had to sit on the wet road and wait on someone to get out to get in. Now we're down to one lane. And as soon as it hits right there, it becomes a ditch, and it's washing it all toward that drain. Although we haven't had much water, I can tell you that the ditch out there is full right now.
We were able to divert the water away from your lot,
Nope, it's still coming across the road.
the stone, right?
No. As soon as it gets to my driveway, it starts across the driveway. It does not divert like we wanted it to. And if we turn on the meters, you can watch it happen. Or you can stand there when it rains tonight or tomorrow and watch it happen. It actually still comes across the blacktop. And I really want to blacktop the entire lot, but I've put it off for 1 year, thinking we were going to do something about this drainage issue. And I don't know what the fix is. My idea was what we talked about last year, underground over to it, but the drain before it got to my drive, because it's coming from the top of South Street all the way down and then across the drive. If there was a drain at the corner of the drive, like there is at some of the other streets, it would grab it there and it would never cross that blacktop. But that's when you get into more expense too. So now I don't know where the town is with storm water.
Well, my attempts at repairing the problem, without going underground, we would have to have easements to pipe onto her property. I thought we could channel the water out and around her parking lot. You did add quite a bit of stone over the few years, and you've built that up. So, yeah, I guess we could look at additional repairs, piping it underground if that's what the council wants to do. I'd really like to take a look during a hard downpour to
See what happens? That's fine. And then,
They just paved that. They did that work last week.
right, but you realize by doing it on top, even if you dug it deeper, they're still gonna have to come through literally a hump to get onto my property by trying to put it on top. And it's using up at least 70 feet of my property where I could be parking cars. And to be honest with you, Jamie's been busy enough that we need the parking. But I'm willing to do, if you need easements, whatever it takes. It's just, it's stormwater. Something's got to be done with it. There's a way to get it away from the top of the property. And I don't think there is any drains on South Street, is there, before it gets to me? That's what I was afraid of.
Give us an opportunity. It's on the agenda, I do believe. Maybe not. Janet? It is Janet, right?
Yes.
Okay, it's on the agenda. Now that you brought it to our attention, let's give us just a little bit of a time here to.
Absolutely. I've been very patient with this mess. I've tried to fix it myself, believe me, many a times. I can't do it.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Sorry, Dave, but I thought we'd just. Department head.
Good afternoon, Town Council. I got something. We've done one of these before, but I'm just asking for your permission. We have surplus guns. This is the second half of our surplus. We sold off the first half. This is the second half. So if you read it and you approve it, we would need a resolution number, and I could start that process tomorrow.
And does this clear off all of the 45 caliber guns?
Correct.
Completely?
There's other ones in there too. But it will clear off all the surplus guns that we have at the police department.
What is the difference between the 21s, the 30s, and the 17s?
Different caliber round.
Oh,
Well, some of those were detective guns, old detective guns. Some of those were, they carry a smaller gun. Some of those were old SWAT guns, because the SWAT used to carry guns, and then the SWAT changed to different guns. And those are all just have been sitting in our safe. But yes, our officers carried 45, so now we carry 9.
You have a resolution number?
B13.
What is it?
Brock, as part of coming up with this list, the attorney helped you prepare this, but was there an inventory done of the entire safe?
Yes, I have it right here. That's everything that we have left, and then we have all of our new firearms.
Comments or questions? Motions? This will be resolution 13 if approved. What?
13.
If it's approved, it will be resolution number 13. Jeff?
I have no problems with it.
Is that in the form of a motion?
Yes.
Motion been made. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And then one other thing. This is just kind of asking for permission if I need it. I'm kind of having confusion on, the department placed an ammo order in December of last year, is what I'm being told. Though we had a rep at Keesler, and we're waiting for the ammo. They're backed up. We should have gotten it sometime. They said 6 months. It's been 6 months. I'm having trouble locating any records of that order. I have a quote from them, which doesn't necessarily mean it's an order. It's just the quote that they quoted us on. The rep that we had that represented us no longer works there, and the new rep that I've been dealing with, she hasn't been extremely clear on emails, and they're extremely busy, so they don't answer phone calls right now, and I just have to wait via email. The last email she sent me, it made it seem like we have not placed that order, and I don't know what the reason is, but also it's possible we have. According to what she's saying, we haven't, and if we placed an order now, we wouldn't get ammo until April or July of 2023, and we really need ammo. So there is an individual in Rushville who a lot of departments use, and he's got ammo in stock. So I just basically, if this is true and we have not placed an order and I need ammo, do I have permission to go up or him, this individual in Rushmore, his company's Fields Outdoor Adventures, to use him or whoever I can find and get some ammo, so our department has ammo. Because we did just qualify, our department had our qualifying on Saturday, so we shot a bunch of rounds then, and we were expecting to get more anytime now, and I don't know if we're getting those, so we need ammo. So if I find out, say tomorrow, that we haven't placed this order, I didn't want to wait 2 weeks for the next town council meeting. So if I find out we didn't make this order and I would like to go buy ammo, is that okay? With the current money that's been allocated to us. Just want to go buy it.
I don't think he needs our permission, does
Well,
he? If it's
going to be a
budgeted.
larger order, I mean.
I think he's just wanting to make sure that, everyone's on board with what he's doing. I think we need to clarify just to make sure the vendors have gone crazy over being able to say, no, you did place that order. You get something in writing, I say we find a new vendor. That's my opinion.
Was it?
I can't
some
find
type of-
nothing. I was sent a quote, and then I was given the contact of the person, and she no longer works there. I sent the quote numbers and the confirmation numbers to our new rep, and her response was, we're really backed up. If you order now, you're gonna get it in April and July. But she didn't necessarily say, we did place that order. So I'm assuming that we didn't. I called her and emailed her again today, and I was like, I really need to know if we've ordered anything at all.
You have a confirmation number of an order?
There's numbers on the. Oh, I have it. Here's the sales quote that I was given, and it has a reference number and it just says number. I gave her both of those. I was like, I hope this reference number or this other number can help you find this order. Like I said, she didn't actually specifically answer if we had the order or not. I hope we have, but if not, I feel like I can go pick up ammo. I can drive to this person's place in Rushville and pick up ammo on hand.
How much?
This order was for almost $4,000.
Rock, did you ask Officer Julian if he ordered any
Yeah.
ammo? And what did he say?
Yeah, he said he ordered the ammo. Then he's the one that provided me the sales quote and our contact information. I reached out to him again today and was like, basically what I just explained to you. I can't find anything that said that we ordered it. He said he has a confirmation. He believed he does, and he was going to find it today when he got on shift and send me the email. But this is the email he sent me the first time, so maybe this is what he's thinking is the confirmation. But it says at the top just sales quote. I don't know. Everybody at the department believed we ordered it, but I can't
So
find it.
he believes he has a confirmation code.
He
with
believes he has an
delivery
email
date probably earlier than what you've been told
Yeah,
if
I
you
mean,
ordered today.
Sergeant Inkhorn, our our firearms instructor, and basically runs our firearms program. He also believes that we ordered it, but he wasn't involved in the purchasing. We were all under the information that it was purchased, and now we've just been waiting and waiting, and I was told April. It's now June. We've got to get ammo. So,
I know with the Rovia, we're in the same boat out there. We ordered at the same time as Mooresville Police Department did, and we're still waiting on ours. I reached out to Keefer's also, and I'm getting the same runaround as Brock is.
there's only one sales rep for Indiana, so she's the only one I could talk to. I just basically hit operator today and gave them these numbers, hoping they could at least tell me if it was purchased, and she wouldn't do that. She said I had to speak to the Indiana rep.
So you'll know tonight if Officer Julian sends you that email.
Correct, yes. And I did ask him for anything he had on the firearm purchase, and this is what he sent me, the sales quote and our contact. And then when I talked to him today, and I was like, they're not saying that we bought anything. And he said, well, I'm pretty sure I have a confirmation. I'll send that to you. Well, like I said, he could just be thinking that this piece of paper is the confirmation, which kind of, it's their letterhead and everything we were going to buy. But just at the top, it just says sales quote. And the company's not.
Brock, if you could give that to
Yes.
Ashley. He said,
Here's actually my email to her, the sales quote, and her response to me. And you can read it and see how kind of, it's just completely
Ashley said
vague.
she would reach out tomorrow to make sure that we don't end up with all kinds of bullets. But apparently we could sell them to Monrovia.
Right.
I wouldn't just buy them, if
Well, I think you
if
would
we weren't
use
gonna
them
get them, but
eventually.
we gotta get some ammo.
Chief, I'll give you a call tomorrow and talk this through with you.
Cool.
Do you want some kind of motion or just consensus to let them go with the new vendor under your recommendation?
Lead him in the right direction. Legal counsel will lead him in this purchase.
Other than that, we've had some high-intensity incidences recently, nothing crazy, but our department's handled them really well. I'm proud of the officers. Some of them are under investigation, so I won't talk about them, but just our officers have handled them well, and I'm proud to work here. That's it. Thanks, guys.
Have a good night.
Good evening. We want to start off real quick by inviting you guys from the fire department. Captain Dave Jones' retirement this Saturday from 12 to 1400 hours, which is 2 o'clock. I know with council, you guys can't really all show up at the same time, but again, I'm just extending that invite out to you guys at council to celebrate his retirement with 25 years of the town of Mooresville. So, the other couple of topics I have to talk about tonight. Last week, I did learn about another gentleman that is going to be retiring. It sounds like it's going to be July of this year. So just council's information only that that's what it looks like. We will have another captain retiring in July of this year. In your guys' packet that I sent out with you guys last week, I gave the run stats for the month of May. 121 EMS runs. We had 8 fires, 50 calls for a total of 179 calls for the month. The Division Chief Robinson was out doing inspections and code enforcement. He had 15 of those. Now the main thing for hot topic to discuss. I also sent out a letter to you guys last week, basically wanting to discuss and talk about charges for public service for the fire department. The IC code 36-8-12-16 allows the fire department to basically charge individuals, insurance companies, for service. In that IC code, also, it lines out of what the charges consist of and how much, so that is all lined out with that IC code. You should have a copy of it. Am I correct? Okay. I know in the past, Chief Farmer has charged for hazmat runs, and that was it. I'm not sure about Chief Metzger. I know other departments are doing this. This is one way of basically allowing us to get some money back into the department to help fund, because in the IC code, it also states that the department can only buy certain things, gear, building supplies, stuff like that, maintenance. It has to be within that IC code also. So with that being said, we do have a non-reverting fund for an EMS service that we provide already for the paramedic program when we have a medic on our truck. I don't know if we need to convert that to try to do this also, or if we just need to establish another non-reverting fund for just the fire services. And then on your last page, I'm sorry, excuse me, on your last page, it's just kind of a generic bill that I would actually type up and give out to the insurance companies, the homeowners and stuff. This was actually a fire that we've recently had. The address is not correct, so don't go with it. But if you look at it, excuse me, with everything that we had on the scene for that and with what the state statute says, we would be basically charging for $1,400 roughly in equipment use, excuse me, equipment use and personnel use. I'm just here tonight to see what council would entertain that idea, or
You have to share this with other agencies, or can they bill also? Or does it have to be one bill since it's our jurisdiction?
it's just our jurisdiction.
So, and then if Madison comes in, I see you're billing for them, do they get that money?
We get that money.
We get it. Do we give it to them, or do we keep it?
No, we would keep that. It's basically an additional, if you look at what the state statute from the State Fire Marshal's Office, it says for additional assistance from other departments, which we would help meet our NFPA standards of the 2 in, 2 out, backup, this, that. Madison Township's already billing for their motor vehicle accidents. I don't think they are billing for anything else.
Do they bill for our department if we assist them?
I don't think the state statute allows that I had read. It's just for the individual itself. I think that kind of falls under the mutual aid agreement that we have with everybody else.
You're saying that we're billing for theirs.
We are billing for them because I'm using their equipment for over here to help assist us. So they could, if they choose to, yes, I'm sorry, they could choose to bill their residents if we go over and assist them. Is that what you're asking? Yep.
You mean their residents' insurance companies?
Correct.
Because this is not a proposal for,
Just for the town of Mooresville.
but this isn't a proposal for individuals or companies. It's in the town. It's a proposal that you send a bill to the insurance company.
Correct. The insurance company I've talked to, I'm still waiting on a couple other people to kind of reach back out to me. They all have built in their insurance. I have it in my home that they will pay out property damage basically for fires, accidents, stuff like that. Already built into our,
It becomes part of their claim. Is that what? Are you familiar with this?
Yeah, yes, I'm familiar. I've represented other entities that charge for services.
To insurance companies.
They just charge for the service to the homeowner, and then the
Homeowner
you're
would
not
give it
you're
to
not
the
going to be
insurance.
the homeowner would be responsible for providing it to their own insurance company, just like any other type of insurance claim.
And if the insurance company doesn't pay it, or they've met their maximum in their limits, then the resident would be liable for it.
It would be like any other bill you would receive as a person. Yes.
So we're not just we're billing the property owner.
or would we be able just to waive that? Or
the policy would need to be applicable to everyone, and it would have to be the property owner. You'd have to write a policy in order to figure out how you were going to do this, so it's fair to every resident. Because then you would have rental situations too. But you're absolutely correct, it is a possibility to do it. Do you already bill for EMS services?
they bill for the EMS service. This was set up in the previous fire chief when our medic hops on their truck. They have an agreement with Madison Township, Brown Township that provides the ambulance. They bill, and then our EMS coordinator bills over, says, hey, our medic was on your truck for this, and they basically send it off to their insurance, and what the insurance pays, they get a portion of that cut back.
Sure. It is definitely possible for that to happen. There's some steps that would need to be done in order for that to go into fruition.
Does all insurance coverage include that, or?
So I talked to State Farm, Allstate, both places said they already have something built in. They have a standard that are for bigger companies, and when that bill comes in, that's their max they pay out. They don't pay any more. Erie is a little bit different. They pay the homeowners their damage loss, and then whatever that reasonable bill is.
That would come out of the damage loss that the
No.
homeowner
It is totally different. They give the homeowners their damage loss
paid.
and then pay also the service charge.
But you said they have a set fee for it.
The bigger companies like State Farm, Allstate, Farm Bureau, stuff like that, what they were telling me that they use a standardized that bigger agencies use. I don't know what the term is, I'm sorry. And they basically use that, and then once they get that bill, then they look at it and they pay that certain fee for the damages and loss property.
Accept that in your plan? Do we accept that payment, or do we then go after the balance of that payment to the homeowner?
My thought was we accept that. If it's $500, it's $500 that we didn't have to put back. And then I was hoping that legal counsel would kind of direct me in the right direction and say, we can not go after the homeowners or whatever. That's what it would be. But again, that's above my education on that portion of that.
If this is something that the town would choose to do, I would suggest, one, there be a policy on how it's applied, and two, there will need to be a fee ordinance with a schedule of fees adopted, as well as I'd have to look into how the nature of the non-reverting fund that you talked about, if it's just specific to EMS runs.
Right now it is, yes.
That would have to be either amended to encompass all fire charges or a separate fund made. I'd have to review everything in order to see the best way to do that with the current status. But I'd be happy to talk with you about that further.
I guess I would be willing to try to keep an open mind on it, but it seems like when someone suffers a loss, it's adding insult to injury. We send them a bill on the 10th of May and the 10th of November already.
I wouldn't like to have a homeowner charged.
No, I understand, and that's why I said I'm reaching out, thinking outside a little bit, and like you guys, I'm just looking at it because I know that there is an IC code, and I know there's other departments that do it,
Yeah.
and it is built into our insurance that we already pay for. So, again, that's just what I'm.
What do other departments, do they bill?
I know Wayne Township bills the hazmat. I know Madison Township bills the car accidents.
But as far as if the insurance doesn't cover it, if a homeowner,
As far as I know, that everybody has not had any issues. IFD charges for fires also. I do have their form that I looked at on their template for billing invoices. So,
I'm sure the policy could encompass like a quote-unquote hardship exemption that could be applied for and received if someone doesn't have insurance.
Jeff, your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm open to it. I'm like you. They're already paying taxes, but if the insurance is built it in, obviously the money would help offset the operating cost. This equipment's expensive. I get it.
It is definitely a revenue stream that is untapped for you guys.
Chief, if you're making $100 a call out, you're going to be mandatory to go to every run, I think. Yeah, I'm open to whatever they have. I'd like to look at it a little further.
Shane?
Yeah, I don't want to, I heard two different things tonight. One is we forgive it, and then one is we bill the difference to the,
right.
so I want to make sure.
We need to do the right thing, and
Yes.
and I totally agree with it. That's why I'm bringing to the table for your guys' opinions, thoughts, legal counsel's help.
I was gonna say that would be surprised something.
And that's why I said
would have to work out.
That's more of a higher.
But I'm okay with you working with legal to find out what the entire picture is. Make sense?
Yes, sir.
Anything else?
I have nothing further, unless you guys got any questions. Thank you.
Art? Nothing? All of our department heads? Legal counsel?
Yes, in the packet is a contract for GRW Engineering, GRW Engineering. I believe at the previous meeting, it was just a quote that was supplied. This is now in a format of a contract. They did add language that is required under Indiana law. I have reviewed the contract, and if this is something that meets your approval, it is sufficient as to legal form.
Questions? Planning Commission members, you're good with this? Motion to approve or pass on the contract?
Nothing's been added to it or anything, just pretty much how we discussed.
Same dollar amounts, yes.
I mean, there was added language that included statutory requirements for a governmental contract.
Right, it is a cap. It is a not to exceed. I'm sorry, say
I
again?
can't hear you.
December 1st, the buffer zone's going away.
Okay.
So they voted that today, so they can include it in that.
Will.
It says they provide the services at an hourly rate, so it's $135 an hour.
Up to 10,000.
Yeah, with a cap of 10,000, and then they further break it down. They update PCBZA rules and procedures. That'd be specific to your board, I guess, for 2,000. That's 2,000 of the $10,000 cap, and then the UDO or the Unified Development Ordinance is 8,000 or 8,000 of the $10,000 cap.
Move forward or wait until December 1st?
Motion to move forward with GRW agreement for planning services.
Motion been made. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Will be paid out of our non-reverting building fund.
We do not at this time.
Public comments. We've already covered one. We have a list here. Rob Samuels.
All right, Rob Samuels, 1297 Rosewood Lane. And sorry about the phone. Someone messaged me, said, hey, the video wasn't on when I checked. Of course, it was on, and the phone was turned all the way up. So I come before this council tonight only because myself and others that have addressed this council during public comments have been accused of coming up here with no facts and even just reading from the dictionary. Now, from my recollection, I don't recall anyone reading from the dictionary up here, and I think maybe once someone may have provided the definition of the word, but I truly don't recall anyone reading from a dictionary. I don't recall any filibusters being done, so that's just my recollection. I try to come up before this council with some kind of facts. But at this moment, I stand before you guys awaiting facts from multiple public records requests that I have submitted to the Town Council, to the Mooresville Police Commission, and the Mooresville Police Department. I know each one of you guys are aware of that because you guys are CC'd every time those come in. So there's currently 5 outstanding public access requests that have not received any response from the town going back to April 8th. So those 5 had been turned over via complaint to the Public Access Counselor as a violation of the Access to Public Records Act. 2 of those 5 requests were actually resubmitted requests since the original requests never received any response and were seemingly ignored by the town. But alas, those 2 that I resubmitted have likewise been ignored after the resubmit. Now, the Access to Public Records Act states that providing persons with information is an essential function of a representative government and an integral part of the routine duties of public officials and employees whose duty it is to provide the information. After filing the complaints with the Public Access Counselor, one was since denied by Beth Copeland, which I then, based off of her denial information, rewrote and resubmitted with specificity regarding documents. If you ever get bored and read public access, you see that word a lot. One request received a response as the official's town request with a Facebook link to the Police Commission monthly meeting. I've mentioned this in the past up here, but why does the police department store their police commission meetings on a Facebook page and not on the town website? I know, Tom, you said you don't use social media before. What if a taxpayer does not use social media or does not use Facebook? And beyond that, I personally have very strong misgivings about a public meeting being kept on Facebook where an interim chief of police can delete the meeting from Facebook or modify it at his discretion. There's no way to save that meeting to a device from Facebook. You can only save it as one of your favorites videos. So there's no guarantee of access to it for taxpayers. And I know best there's no statute that requires meetings to be published video-wise, but you guys are putting it on Facebook. Most everything else can be found on the town website. I've mentioned that before, and here's another instance. My concern about that particular issue goes yet to another public access request that I submitted on April 25th of 2022, which concerns the interim chief of police stating during an April 20th meeting with other members of the police department that he would rather Tom Brady his cell phone before turning over any information contained in a prior public access request that he was personally named in. I know that this has been brought to the police commission, and I specifically asked the commission about this at their last police commission meeting, and I was told that they're holding this and referring this over to the next chief of police. I know some of you know this because I'm sure you had been updated. A few members of the council, I emailed my concerns about that. What is the purpose of a police commission if they just sit by as an interim chief of police tells other officers he will destroy information rather than comply with a public records request? Pretty sure the police commission would have notified the town council of this, and it truly is baffling to me as to how a town employee can publicly say they will destroy evidence, and the inaction of the police commission gives a green light to every employee of that department to do whatever they want without consequence. I will add that Chris in that meeting stated that he's not giving employees a green light, but if you look at that example, it does tell employees that, hey, the police commission is not going to do anything. Interim Chief Chipman advised me that the town employee handbook specifically stated that all information on their personal phones are exclusively theirs. I asked what page that was on. One of my first public records requests was for town employee handbook to see if it for this council. he couldn't provide me what page it was on. So that night, I went back, went through all the pages, went through the 2 addendums. That's never mentioned in the town employee handbook. It's not in front of the police commission attorney of an interim chief, again vocalizing that he will not, this being live streamed and recorded. I hope he just misspoke. We'll see. Pulling from one of the many public access counselor opinions, and this is a quote, "To avail oneself of employment, appointment, or election to public office often comes as warranted or irrelevant. It comes with the territory of drawing a salary from public funds or being the custodian suggests their destruction is to erode the fundamental principle that the government is the servant of the people." Any lawfully requested information. Now, I personally sat in the police commission meeting where the police commission attorney advised Officer Chipman, attorney Lee, as to the validity of the public access request. Yes, contrary to that legal advice he was given by 2 of the town's attorneys. And surprisingly today, Beth sent me a letter he sent out to the police officers that stated Saturday, April 23rd, stating that the officers can watch that police commission meeting and that they have 30 days to turn in the information, and if they don't, that consequences could occur. So we have a dichotomy there. The Indiana Access to Public Records Act defines a public record as any writing, paper, report, study, map, photograph, book, card, tape recording, or other material that is created, received, retained, maintained, or filed by or with a public agency. And this is part of that definition. Although the Act does not explicitly reference texting, this broad definition encompasses electronic records, including text and SMS messages. So I have little to no faith that I will receive valid information from the Mooresville Police Department when the person currently in charge of the department than to comply with them. Hopefully, these public records requests are the only thing that he's willing to break and to defy. Now, one positive, since I started filing these public records requests, myself and my neighbors do appreciate the increased police patrols in Roberson Woods. If I'm outside, I try to wave at officers as they drive by. Now, I'm just an ordinary taxpayer, so I can't go to the police department and view info to decide if the information I want is available and then fill out the public access request as if I were a town council member. I have to fill out the request hoping I have the correct information and correct verbiage, and then await to see if the town will even respond to my request. If it's an in-person request, there's 24 hours. If it's email, there's 7 days. I've received fulfilled requests, which I thank Tammy at the clerk's office, which I've expressed my thanks to Diane and to the ladies in the clerk's office for their hard work, and I also thank Lieutenant Kays at the police department. Most of my requests that were fulfilled were requests that a town council member had already made, so the information was readily available, so there wasn't much work involved. Unfortunately, I, as a taxpayer, still await information that I had received no response or updates on from the town, and I only just got any responses just this past week, where I was told the town was waiting on a third-party provider that stores email on the server. I had asked Tammy for updates. She said she had sent out requests for updates and never got anything back. So until Beth emailed me and updated me on the email server situation, that's really the first response I've had. I only received that update because Beth updated me with that, also advising me that she had the public access request. She's got the first 3 public access requests and the public access counselor complaints. Now, I do thank a council member for ceasing attacks against the police department and its employees, and I just want to state where I am on awaiting facts so that this same council member who claims people stand before this council with no facts or comes up with no facts to this council knows what the actual facts are. I also ask this council, and this I cannot understand from an HR perspective, from a legal perspective, how you would allow anyone to run a department, even temporarily, a taxpayer-funded department, knowing that they state that they will destroy evidence. Who's directing the police commission and allowing this person to continue running a department? Is this person likewise holding up public access requests, delaying public access requests? Because I know when I submit them, I know who Tammy is sending them, forwarding them to. And if we're awaiting a new police chief to address and handle this, what even is the purpose of the police commission? And one only hopes whoever this new police chief is someone who doesn't dock their boat at a council member's family dock and goes along with what's been happening up to this point. So for the record, and I only bring this up for the record, I've not brought any of this information up publicly. I haven't posted any of this information on social media whatsoever. This has just been myself doing this. So I haven't blasted police department. I've tried everything I can to support the police department, the actual department itself, its employees, contrary to what Mr. Chipman wanted to send the officers in his Saturday, April 20. That's where I am with facts. That's where I stand with information. And I just keep getting a repetitive no response from elected officials and town employees. So I just wanted to bring that to everyone's attention, put that on the record, and let everybody know these are facts I have, and I only try to come up with facts. So thank you, guys.
Thank you. Rose Julian.
Rosemary Julian. Husband was former Chief Kevin Julian. And I know some of this information is reiterated, but I want to put in perspective of other things that have happened that kind of support the other stuff that I have been saying all along. At the town council meeting, when Kevin Julian was demoted by town council, they cited the reasons for the K-9 policy program, lack of communication and cooperation. Immediately, Rob Samuels, a resident in Mooresville, a strong supporter of the K-9 program, got up and spoke for approximately, well, actually over 45 minutes, giving a detailed timeline of Kevin's actions that he took and the lack of actions by town council, which basically blew town council reasoning for his demotion right out of the water. This meeting, Councilman Shane Williams, under the heading of being fully transparent about things, went searching for other ways to support their reasoning for demoting my husband, Kevin Julian. And I want to say it was demotion to lieutenant, since you keep calling him Officer Julian. He is not officer, it is lieutenant. Show him the respect he deserves. Getting back. Fully transparent about the actions that have happened within the department. Issues with pursuit and the policy being followed. Accidental discharge, missing weapons, which two of those things had already been discussed with town council and were basically, okay, let's move on, no big deal. However, with the pursuit issue, Councilman Shane Williams even posted a picture, which he quickly took down off of his social media account, depicting an accident which isn't even a reflection of the accident, and had no authority to actually use that by the person that was involved in the accident. Anyway, the pursuit issues that we talked about afterwards was basically that he values life over, and it's a tragedy when somebody's hurt in a pursuit, but it's wrong for somebody to flee. And pursuits are necessities. Getting back to the idea of pursuits, are you familiar with Ted Bundy, who was linked to the murder of 30 women? He was initially being pulled over for a basic traffic violation. He fled. After a pursuit, he was arrested. He was incarcerated, and however, he was able to escape twice more. Each time he was recaptured because of traffic stops. Curry Moore, traffic stop revealed he was wanted for murder. David Berkowitz, better known as the Son of Sam, was caught due to a parking violation stop. Later it was learned that he kidnapped, raped, tortured, and murdered 21 young men. William Suff, Riverside prostitute killer, was arrested after making an illegal U-turn. He was believed to have murdered between 12 to 22 individuals. Timothy McVeigh, the Oklahoma City Federal Building, bombing, killing 168, plus leaving hundreds more severely wounded and injured, was arrested after a traffic stop. Joel Rifkin, Joel the Ripper, murdered at least 17 people. His spree came to an end when he was arrested after a high-speed chase ensued and he crashed his vehicle into a utility pole. He was being pulled over for a license plate violation. Randy Kraft, freeway killer, was on the prowl and responsible for murdering at least 37 people, was pulled over after we investigated further and discovered he was actually dead and his latest victim. These seemingly minor pulled over by the officer can seem minuscule, but think about the long-term causes and potential if these people weren't pursued. And these are all facts that you can check. FYI, it's fact-checked. Officers are going into an unknown situation with each traffic stop and each thing that they do. If officers aren't observant, pursuing, there are bigger dangers out there. Furthermore, Shane Williams, he informed me that I should stop talking and saying who needs to be the captain of the department. I informed Shane I hadn't been saying who should be captain, and I stand behind that. I didn't say who needs to be captain. I did encourage the current captain to stay in his position because I think it's important, and I won't apologize for encouraging him. Pardon?
So you did or you didn't?
I encouraged him to stay in his position. Okay. I did not encourage him to be captain. I encouraged him to stay in a position just because of the stability that officers the department offers the officers and the department. And I, by God, into another direction, as well as to stand his ground when involves his moral is also in the best interest for the department and the community. So in that aspect, if that's what you were referring to. Also, on April 5th, the town council approved the K-9 program, with Councilman Shane Williams posting on his Facebook site the following statement. Passing the K-9 program was successful tonight. The town will be moving forward with the K-9 program that has a permanent budget, SOPs no longer will it be an afterthought by our government.
Mm-hmm.
I asked at that meeting if this was going to be an additional funding item or it would be coming out of the police budget. Town Councilman President Tommy Worthen stated it would be separate. No other councilman present, which was all of you, said anything different to the contrary. However, a mere 6 weeks after that, you're already flipping your decision, slashing that to $25,000 and making it a part of the police budget that is already can be stressed as is. After you already said that, and we discussed that there is a need for more training money, you decide to slash it. What was the point of the K-9 program being processed through the town if you're not going to really truly support it? You're leaving it up to basically more donations and support by the community and those that want it to be a success. However, the police commission, or the town council actually told Kev after he sought donations by doing a fundraiser at the Old Settlers by doing a dunk tank that they didn't want him to do any more fundraising or donations for the K-9 program, that they wanted it to be town council. This does not sound like town council is really supporting the K-9 program. And FYI, the person that stepped down today from the position of an officer for the Mooresville Police Department that wanted to be K-9 started his search for other departments because you, Jeff, wanted it to be 5-year minimum, where Kev made it 3 for his compromise. And then also with all the changes with how the town has handled his demotion and other issues, that's why he sought other. And I know that Shane and Jeff keep shaking your head. We all see it on the camera too.
That's fine.
I was pleased that it was supported in that town council meeting on the 5th. But keep in mind, it's under the same policy that Kev had approved in October, that you bickered and argued with. So really, how can we trust anything that you say when you back and forth and are wishy-washy? A side note, I spoke previously that Kev had worked on different grants and received some, one of which was for AEDs. Getting AEDs for each officer and for the police department. Because of this grant and then being issued to each officer, lives are being saved. I know because I was president in an emergency situation where CPR was being done and we were able to pull out the AED, apply it, shock was advised, given in such quick succession that the individual is doing well, was awake at scene, and is now home. You, the town council, made a short-sighted decision in demoting Kev because of petty, self-centered, feel sorry for yourselves, and you didn't look at the bigger picture of what was truly in the best interest of the town. Putting out false information about how he was being lack of communication and lack of cooperation, and really? Ask, really? How safe and protected is the town going to be because of the short-sightedness? The camaraderie, the morale that was developed and growing after Kev took over is shattered. Officers have expressed that they can't trust the person next to them, trust the leadership, trust town council. Officers are leaving, with one being put in today. But there are also others in other processes. And I know others are looking and evaluating other departments and working to be able to get onto another department. How safe are you really going to be when all these officers leave? Is town council going to put on a uniform? I think not. The search for a new chief has begun, and I expect that new chief to actually be announced as Tim Cummings. Why? Because he's buddy pals with Councilman Jeff Cook and his family. I've even been told that his boat is being kept at Jeff's parents' house. Close ties, and I believe we're playing a vital role in Kev's demotion from his position. If you want a paper pusher or somebody that can be dictated to by the town council, yeah, he's a good officer to have as your chief. There was also, at the last meeting, a position made for a 23rd officer to be able to hire externally for a new chief. First, let me say I think it's a good idea to add extra officers. However, I don't think it's a good idea to ever make a temporary adjustment and increasing your numbers to turn around and decrease them. If you want a new position, you keep the position. Don't remove it. And again, I'm going to speak on the Freedom of Information Act. I too am aware that these are facts, that a interim chief was made a comment, and I won't speak further on that other than to say that I believe that there needs to be an outside investigation by another police department, and the officer needs to be removed for behavior unbecoming of an officer. It's not a regular position within the town. This is an officer talking about destroying evidence. Furthermore, I also have been told, I did not hear it specifically firsthand, where I didn't hear the words directly out of their mouths, but I did hear through others present that a councilman was heard making a comment that he would rather the National Guard would make such comments that the National Guard would take the National Guard to get the information from him. Clearly, both of these people have something to hide. Is this true transparency? I think not. But I think that person needs to step down because there's obviously not fulfilling their duties and it's unbecoming of their position. When I first spoke on different things, I talked about the systematic attack that Kev was under. I think all these things coming out continues to prove my point and how underhanded things were going. And at that one meeting where Kev was demoted, 3 people he said he spoke to, this only accounts for 7.5% of the department, clearly not fully representative. And to say that you talked to 3 people doesn't necessarily mean 3 of them were disgruntled or dissatisfied. But 7.5%, if it was fully where they were dissatisfied, is a small percentage compared to what it has been in previous administration. And I want it known to the community members that the information that was requested by the town council and the police department members and so forth would have actually been reviewed by the attorneys, and only pertinent information would have been passed on. So I have a couple questions, and you can feel free to answer them here because it's a public forum, and I believe we deserve the answers here. What is your stance on a town employee destroying evidence instead of handing it over? Or saying that a National Guard or national troops or whatever, I can't even remember how that was actually said at this point, would be required to handle over their information. Second, according to town council, what do you believe is the role of the police commission? Why are they not allowed to act as their own entity, instead are directed by town council? And third, what role is town council wanting to play with the new incoming chief? Are you planning on micromanaging them too? Here's the questions. Feel free to pass it on and answer them. And yes, if I sound a little sarcastic, I am, because you under the guise of transparency, but you hide and you hide and you lie.
Any other comments?
Hey, Tom, one clarification, even though it's technically not, as I referred to Captain Case as Lieutenant Case. He's currently working as a captain, even though he's lieutenant rank, so I just want to clarify.
Captain. He is a captain and has been a captain.
So I refer to him as lieutenant instead of captain.
Gentlemen, I need a motion for approval of payment of claims.
Motion for approval for claims in the amount of $1,150,636.63.
Motion been made. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Greg, Jeff, 4-0. Town council comments. Jeff?
I have none.
Shane?
A couple things. First off, I want to be careful how I say this. I don't take statements made by third parties who attended a meeting months ago, and all of that is fact. Civilians aren't attending our supervisor meetings at the police department that I know of to have firsthand information and to understand what's really going on. Secondly, it was stated regarding the K-9 program that it was funded out of the budget. I'll leave this ordinance for anyone who wants to read it, the corner of the table. The ordinance that we have before us is to take $25,000 out of rainy day fund, so basically out of cash, and fund the program initially with $25,000, not out of the police budget. That's what I have said from the very beginning. And then it establishes a permanent K-9 fund where the new chief can budget accordingly. Then there is also a K-9 donation fund, which currently has, $6,000 in it or so. So when the new chief comes in, assuming it passes, he'll have about 31, he or she will have 31,000. Now, the other thing, I think it's highly inappropriate for a former chief's wife to come in here and mention names during a hiring process of a new police chief. I think it's highly inappropriate. And I would like to publicly apologize to the gentleman who was referred to. First, we've heard it was going to be somebody from Indianapolis, a buddy of Jeff's. Then we heard it was going to be Chief Jeff Cook. Then tonight we hear it's this other guy. We don't know who it's going to be. The police commission hasn't given us a name. So I just think it's highly inappropriate. It's my turn to speak. Thank you. You've gotten to speak quite a bit tonight. Thank you. So I just want that on the record that if these applicants are watching, that I want to apologize to any and all of them who are offended by what they just saw. Lastly, on a more positive note, the comp plan. And the Republican nominee for council there, Josh Brown, mentioned a vote today. I wasn't aware of that, but by the Morgan County commissioners, correct? To eliminate the buffer zone, which they have already talked about in the past. I received a phone call this week from Shannon Cole, who's with the engineering firm that's helping us with our comp plan. And that they have been approached, her engineering firm has been approached by the county in regards to working on a comprehensive plan, because updating their plan because of the buffer withdrawal. And she presented it to me that the county commissioners want to work with the municipalities, Monrovia, Mooresville, to address concerns that we have within the buffer area. And she also wanted me to say that if we didn't feel it was appropriate or we had a real problem with the county hiring the same firm that we're hiring, to let them know. My personal view is I think it makes a lot of sense to try to work with them and address concerns. That's my personal view. So I don't think there needs to be a motion or anything, but just a consensus maybe, or discussion on what council members think about that.
Say they were going to lower their estimate?
No, I didn't talk price. If she had called you, you probably would have.
Well, I mean, I would assume that they're not going to charge us and the county to do a comprehensive plan in the buffer zone. So what-
Well, the county would be paying for the buffer section. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, I mean.
Yeah,
because-
right.
Because she bid it as our.
Yeah, ours is ours.
And the buffer zone, when she bid it back for, what was it, 135,000 or whatever?
Well, I remember you talked to her about that.
I don't know, I mean, did she say anything about the price
No.
lowering?
No.
Okay. No, I just,
I remember you talking about, you were concerned about the buffer area and what it would, if it would conflict with county plans. Am I correct in saying that?
yeah, and we were going to go ahead full steam because they had talked in 15 about doing away with the buffer zone and didn't
Right.
do it. So we just were going ahead with full steam, that they were going to do that. But now, I mean, us paying for what we think should be in the buffer zone and not having any control over the non-jurisdictional area like that, I would assume that she'll back off the price because it wasn't a set price; it was a not to exceed anyhow.
Yeah, that's true. I did not ask that specific question, but I thought it was a good gesture on her part to make sure we were okay. And then also, I thought it was a good gesture on the county's part to say we still want to bring you into the process, at least discuss it with you.
Yes. Yes, I think at this point in time, though, we do need to align ourselves as a council on what we're going to do if an area of non-jurisdictional control comes along for development and they need our services, wastewater treatment. I think before we drop a stick of pipe in the ground anywhere, it needs to be in the civil town of Mooresville. I'm not putting that on your plate again. That's just, we got till December. We may use our rewards card to pay for that.
Give you that to set in the corner.
Do you have anything else?
No, sir.
Greg? Our next council meeting will be Tuesday, June 21st. Let's do it at 6:30 PM. Is that all right with you, gentlemen? Good. I need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Jeff Shane, 4-0.